letting me speak today. I am here as a member of Stand With Our Safe Rain Creek, a citizen action group dedicated to preserving Longmont's open space and riparian areas, to ask for your support in making Longmont's open space sales tax permanent. Longmont passed the open space sales tax of 2 cents on every $10 purchase in 2000, and voters extended the tax in 2007. The tax goes toward the acquisition, maintenance, and enhancement of open space within Longmont. This includes such things as trail development and enhancing stream health. Currently, the tax is set to sunset in 2034 as open space, or we may lose it forever. If the open space sales tax is allowed to lapse in 2034, more resources are available for the future. We're urging our city council members to place a measure on in Colorado. In 2022, Douglas County voters approved an extension of their open space sales tax by a whopping 87%. Just last year, Boulder County voters and Colorado Springs voters approved their own open space sales tax extension measures by large margins. We've been collecting signatures of support and have likewise had an overwhelmingly positive response. Since residents are already contributing, making the tax permanent will not pose an additional financial burden. Additionally, there is precedent within Boulder County and elsewhere in Colorado for instating a permanent open space sales tax. Lafayette in 2017 and Grand County in 2023 both voted to make their open space sales tax permanent. Putting this measure before the voters this year means a greater turnout since this is a presidential election year. It also capitalizes on the momentum shown by other municipalities as well as addresses an anxiety felt by many Longmont residents as they look around to all the development within the last few years. Again, we ask for craft support as we look to get this measure on the ballot. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
I do also have
a member of Stand With Our Safe Rain Creek and open space.
And again, we're looking for support from craft, which in turn we hope will end up with support from City Council to put this on the 24 ballot. Open space is a hot issue, as you know, passed throughout the state of Colorado. 3 within Boulder County, if you include Erie, Boulder, and Louisville. Those passed by an average of 75%. Like I said, we believe that the extension of the open space and making it a permanent sales tax will help this work group. And you'll see today the accomplishments that the open space and the land management group made in 23. But with these additional dollars, knowing they're coming in on an annual basis will certainly help the capital development project group, knowing what their work plan is for the next 5, 10, 25, I'll say 50 years. Hopefully, our open space acquisitions are in perpetuity. So with that, we greatly appreciate craft support. I would love to see it on November 24th agenda. And
2034, why 2024, why now? And I just, again, want to say, because it is a presidential year, that's when voter turnout is high. And so we want to have everyone participate and have a chance to weigh in on that. And also just the idea that getting people thinking about it by being on the ballot helps raise awareness about open space, and so it really kind of is a win-win. If by chance it didn't pass, then we can always try again in 2028 or something. So, so that's why it's kind of, you know, striking where the iron's hot, and like you said, people look around and they're like, oh my gosh, all this building. So just to raise awareness and really have the best participation in terms of voter turnout. So yeah, perhaps support would be great, and would go far to help us convince council, which hopefully won't be a hard sell.
Thank you so much. All right, well, we won't be able to discuss this item today, but I'm pretty sure, and I can check with Jeff, that we have in a future month discussing this exact item. So if anything, we'll just make sure to try to push it up so that we don't miss the deadlines to make sure it gets onto the, could potentially get onto this year's
ballot. And it would be helpful to, you know, kind of do a little presentation if we could have some time for that or something, you know, let us know that.
Yeah, we can talk about that. Anything you want to add on top of this? Or?
No, I appreciate people showing up. I think, again, as Dan mentioned, I think you'll see some of the great work this group is doing in our presentation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's going to be covering it, right? Okay, great. So let's move on to old business, which is approving the 2024. Is that in the packet? Is it missing?
Page 7.
Yeah,
7 and 8.
in Thorn on each month.
Pardon me, everybody. I want to make sure. So, if I have this correctly too, we don't technically need to approve this now, right? We could go on without necessarily approving this and discussing this in a future month.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is an option for us. Or we can make a motion now to approve the agenda calendar as from the packet. Maybe we'll open up for discussion. Do we have any thoughts, Paige?
So I had, we had been advised by our previous council liaison that it would be good for us to have recommendations if we have any budget recommendations, to have those into count of budget recommendations on in April, but I think we would need them in March.
April probably is good. Too late. I just think it would be. I think Mr. Bell would probably have an idea of when he's starting to move forward with
For
his
CIP.
So, Paige, you're saying March agenda.
Yeah. Okay. It's a good suggestion. Any others?
Yeah, last year when we talked about the board retreat, we talked about justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and that got like that wasn't the board retreat thing, but then it was mentioned that we would include it in the year's agenda, but we haven't, and it's not on this year's agenda. So
It's for potential board retreat was on here for March.
no, like last year's board retreat, it was supposed to happen before the end of the year. You know what I mean? Like before it. So not the board retreat. Justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion. I'm probably not speaking so that anybody can understand me. That was a suggested topic, and that topic was vetoed in favor of making it an agenda item for during the year. Well, it's neither was a topic for our and it's not appearing on the.
So I think we're able to adjust.
Make sure it gets on.
Right.
And then
Get pushed down there.
the open space. Oh, yeah.
Maybe, what is the deadline, or maybe you guys know, what is the deadline for getting on the ballot?
I don't know. I check with legal on that for sure.
Okay.
usually I think that's when we put add stuff, that's the one
Okay.
Don to add.
So August is okay.
Yeah, if you think about how the city council races go, you get you have to have your signatures within around the 24th or so is that, and then by that end of a 7-day span, which is either the very beginning of September or so, you have to have your signatures in, so that would make sense for putting something on the ballot. Is having it to the city clerk by August. So July is usually the time those sort of.
They're talking about it then in July, which probably definitely push it up so we have time to get something to them to think about it.
Be working on this in July.
I had to be working.
On this last year, so I think it would be pretty similar.
April?
If we get published on the DC at a national cities conference.
Okay.
With other council members.
So April, that means it's a good.
So I've captured 3 recommendations. One is to move the 2025 capital improvement project subject from April up to March. And the second is to move the July open space tax discussion from July up to June.
April.
To April. I'm sorry, April.
That's okay.
Yeah. And then the third, Aaron, was the topic of D&I topic, which we do not have on the agenda at all as of right now.
And we have lots from the agendas to make sure we get that. Yeah, and Taylor's here.
Okay. Fantastic. The agenda as amended with those 3 changes we just discussed. We have to figure out exactly what the D&I. Or we can table this for the parking lot and bring it to a future meeting.
I think you just fixed everything, right? So it's just.
You okay?
I
Okay,
move
so
that
with
we
that,
accept it as amended.
do I have a second? Scott, we'll take that. All in favor? That's everybody. Okay. So those 3 changes. And we'll work with Jeff. Okay, awesome. Let's move on to new business. And there's, again, 2 items. The middle item, the board retreat, we're going to skip over for this week, for this month. New business. Here's what we were all here for, I think. The 2023 Parks, Open Space, and Recreation accomplishments. Who's going to kick us off for this?
I'm going to kick us off here, mine. It's actually Paige who made this recommendation. We had a kind of an end of year recap. And kind of doing the end of year is tough because we're still collecting data, we're still trying to get stuff in to really get a presentation put together. Council asked for stuff, city manager's office asked for stuff. So this right here really is a compilation. I think we put together that from here on out we can pull stuff out. Stuff in here that we'll be able to pull out throughout the year as people ask for information, hopefully not have to recreate information. The other thing that and hopefully it's a good chance for you to get out and share it with people you know on what we're doing here. And you're the first one.
And if it's a real secret, it goes better. So much better. Okay. But you can look at the slides.
That's stage here.
Right? You can go around and around. So you guys, you've met most of our team, I believe, in some of the other meetings. I'm the manager of the Parks and Coast Development team. Steve Ransweiler is one of our senior project managers who's been with the city for 23 years. Tatiana, sitting next to me, is another senior project manager who's been here for 4 months. Trish, who's not able to come tonight, another senior project manager, 5 months with the city. And then Lisa Champ joined us. We grabbed her from the operations team to move to our Parks and Coast Development team. She's been at the city for 6.5 years, and she's also a project manager. So if you go to the next slide. So what do? So we do a lot of planning. So we do some master planning whenever those are coming up to start thinking about what we're going to do in the future with some of our park space. We do capital improvement program planning annually for projecting our projects out for the next 5 years with regard to design and construction. We engage the community during that design and construction phase to solicit that public input. We work with our partners within Parks and Natural Resources as well as other outward departments within the city and organizational groups within the city as a whole to work towards conservation of our environmental features within our parks. And then we also help provide oversight of our policies and procedures that guide our park design, our trail design, and then oversight of those with the development group within the city on any of the developments that are occurring within the city. And then several on our team are also technical and subject matter experts on things related to parks and trails. So accomplishments for 23. So 23 was a really big year for this team. There were 4 new team members onboarded in that year. So the manager position was added, hired a new senior PM to fill an existing vacant position, and then hired 2 term positions to support the 85 projects, the senior PM and the PM2. We also managed to restart some projects that had gone on hold, 2 of which, one is Kensington Park Restroom, which had been sitting aborted for several years, and Nino Gallo Neighborhood Park, getting that design completed and then moving towards construction. We also managed to kick off some new projects in 23, so accomplishments of 23, we did complete the Lou Miller disc golf and irrigation improvements, and then we also completed the relocation. There were 2 accomplishments for 23. So we also had some challenges in 23. So at the beginning of the year, we had 1 senior project manager who approved the addition of some positions to support the work at hand. There was a lot of money to be spent on these parks, but there was no one to actually manage the projects, to complete the projects. So then the onboarding phase started with the team. So we started onboarding, I onboarded in March, and then Elisa onboarded in June, and Trish onboarded in September, and you came in October. So it was a very busy onboarding year. And with that, you realize the lack of standardization that might exist in a department that had essentially been a maximum of 2 people down to 1 person. So there were a lot of things that we had to work through in order
order to continually train people, keep projects going, and looking ahead to the future. So in 24, we have some great goals and achievable goals. So right now, as we're figured out, just showing portions of the bearing walls missing, and have since rebuilt those walls with new door, and there will be new fixtures and accessories. Then the Oligarchy pedestrian bridge improvements. Lisa knocked this one out of the park. She got it, the design complete, the contractor on, and what was it? You finished it early, like a week early. I think it finished last week or something. So now that bridge, if you look at, I think that picture on the right, you'll see there's kind of a bump as you're going up onto the concrete. It's kind of a rough transition. It's not accessible. As well as the under side of that bridge, the abutment was starting to, the earth that was holding it up was starting to wash out. So it was an unsafe area. And so they came in, they made necessary repairs. Did not require replacement of the bridge, but just some reconstruction of portions of it. And now that's reopened to the public.
Where's that bridge?
That is at the end of Longs.
Yeah, east end of Long's Avenue, essentially is Elliott Street there. It's just a little bit south of Ninth Avenue.
Right near our elementary school.
Yes, yeah, it'll be.
We will have the completion layout, one of many that are complete, but can be restriped by recreationists in timeframes. That one's slated to be completed in December of this year. And then, I believe, is starting to go up around the state, and so we're actively in the construction phase at this point. So we'll start to see some dirt moving on that park in the next couple of weeks. That one's slated for completion in August or September, I believe. So also in 24, we will reach the end of the Thompson Park renewal. So that is a new playground, which is shown in the graphic below. Improvements to the rest of the building with regard to the fixtures inside. Improvements to the existing paths within the park to make them more accessible. And replacement of the park shelters. Then Spring Gulch 2 Phase 3, the trail that connects from Union Reservoir to Sandstone, is slated to be completed in May now. So that is, and then we have Dog Park 1 improvements, which are, and then there's going to be some, I believe some turf this year.
Where is that Dog Park?
That one is at Francis. Construction will be underway for these two parks in 24. It won't be completed until early 25. That's Fox Meadows Neighborhood Park and Nino Gallo Neighborhood Park. So Fox Meadows, I think, starts construction in June, and Nino Gallo was out to bid. It was not awarded, and we're working through putting that back out on the street. So more to come on that time frame. Okay. And then let's see. Also this year, we will be underway with design and construction for Roosevelt Park playground replacement, an adult fitness course installation, and improvements at the Rose Garden. Then Garden Acres pedestrian bridge will be replaced, as well as some trail upgrades at another bridge that is in dire need of replacement. We'll be using one of the stored bridges that we had salvaged in past years to use in that location. So Parks and Trails goals, aside from the projects, is to work on our team workflow. So we've already migrated our resource to a collaboration platform, standardized project management tools across all of our projects. And then also working to revise our park guidelines, and then also working with others in the city to overhaul the design and construction standards that are on the city website. From a planning perspective, we're looking to utilize data to help inform what our priorities are based on data we can collect through different means that uses phone data, as well as the total park health that Timber's team is working on, and pairing that with Envision Longmont and our master plans. And then we're also working towards putting some time to really validate the scope and the cost of the upcoming CIP program that we'll be submitting to council. That is it for Parks and Trails development right now. So if you guys have any questions, you can answer them at the end, let everyone get through, unless you wanted to say anything. I didn't know what you were
Maybe we
doing.
should pause here just because it might be a lot for everyone to take in all at once. Maybe we'll just break it out that way. I think it's a little better. Are there any comments or questions from this portion?
I
there are.
I have a quick question. You can wait till the end of the minutes. I just wondered what happened with Nino Gallo, what the delay was, if you could say anything more about that.
I don't know what I can say because of the bidding process, but it wasn't awarded. And let me follow up with you after I find out what I can say. That's fair?
Okay.
With this group, I'd just like to throw one piece out there for Aaron especially too, that Stephanie also helped bring in a new sort of individual, and really one of the goals that comes down to this work group really is trying to enhance and improve the way we engage with our community, looking at the things we've done in the past that haven't worked and look at ways we do better. So that goes from our department goal all the way down to now someone actually has that on their work plan for the year that we have to. So.
With the increased capacity for the Impact program, so it's really kind of new and exciting. Is there any plan to take this and go to like Times Call or go to the public and talk about the accomplishments of hiring new staff? I think especially when people are always nervous about spending money on taxes and that sort of thing.
That's a great suggestion. Maybe something we can talk about internally. Yeah, and especially as we're going to go back and ask for now we have the people and now we need the money, in order to keep that going. But as David had mentioned, we put together our work plan and that's reflected in the CIP that will be presented. And how do we get to where we need to be to really make all of this happen on the time frame that was allotted to 8 months and 5 years? But that's a good suggestion.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think it's one of the things we have to do a better job of trying to figure that out. And I think we with our comms team, because I think, again, for council and the community to say, hey, we asked for additional money, you're spending money, things that to actually get to see work getting done is something people don't often get to see, that we gave you something and here's the results of that. So I think that is beneficial. So thanks, God.
After last bill that wanted to take, didn't quite understand how we had left with the sales tax bill, make sure that we toot our own horn and make sure that we show all the things they're doing, because a lot of these people were just ready to say, well, yeah, you can have the vote right now. The community has a knee-jerk sort of response, show that so that then people go, well, that was a part of the money, or that needs to be replaced for forever. Well, it doesn't come for free, and so we make sure that people recognize that.
And hopefully seeing some of this work occur and being completed will also help tell that story. But we have been working actively with communications to keep our website updated with our projects and what's going on, because that was another piece that was kind of a gap before. But I think these are all great suggestions.
Great. Any other comments, questions? Okay, you keep on moving then. You're fine.
This seems more like humans.
Okay, not a problem.
Go ahead.
So my name is Chelsea Wilson, and I'm going to use the main things that the Ranger Division focuses on. So outreach and education, resource protection, code enforcement, and public safety. So making sure that we are good customer service representatives for and drawing their boat. For law enforcement or code enforcement, making sure that emergency response, wildfire suppression, and water rescues. Next slide. So our staffing currently, we added my position. So I'm one of the new senior rangers. We've got Bryce, who's going to be taking over more of the Parks, Open Space, and Trails division, and me taking over Union Reservoir. And then we have Price up at Button Rock. We have 2 rangers who fall under the Ranger 2 category. And then 3 full-time rangers who are under the Park Ranger 1 category, and then we're hoping to have an interviewing process. One of the major ones, especially for Union Reservoir, is we did 1,345 of those boats came from positive waters. That means that they were needed to send over to St. Vrain to be deconned and get rid of any aquatic nuisance species that they had. We did a lot of dog in restricted area contacts, especially over at Button Rock Reserve. 97%, 3% of those ended up in a summons or a ticket. 95% of those contacts were ranger initiated. So we're getting out there and talking to people and making ourselves and our our presence known. As far as emergency response goes, we did 74 boat rescues, which is down from 2022. However, June weather was pretty rainy, so we didn't have a lot of people out on the water. So it was 160 something in 2022. But that's good for us because less rescue and some ATV rollover situations. And as far as education and outreach goes, Rangers initiated and started the interpretive outreach program, and we're able to. Next slide, please.
So this map, it might be a little hard to see, but that's all of those statistics that we just read to you in map form. So if you follow the dots, you can kind of see where our medical rescue, the green ones are tagged camps. So you can basically just follow the St. Vrain using our dots. You know exactly where the river is. A lot of action up at McIntosh, a lot of action at that south shore of Union, and then Sandstone would be our hottest spots. But also, you know, some down at Dry Creek, at Roosevelt. That's kind of where we made most of our contacts. So it gives you an idea of where all of this action is taking place.
And that's a great interactive map. We've worked together so you can hover
The last 3 months and give PD like this map is the exact same thing, just up at Button Rock. So, but again, blue is code enforcement, orange is rescue. By September, that was up to 90%. So if nothing else in this PowerPoint slide, that's probably my most proud thing is we got up to over 90% of people have life jackets. Made me feel a lot better about people recreating out there. And it kind of justified that I'm riding around on a wave runner and not just ripping it up and having fun and being effective at my job. But yeah, that worked out really well. So part of that goes September. Thank you for putting in that budget request even before I started. So great idea, worked out really well.
And that really was during the COVID times when people started spare time. Now we have the additional impact and results of that.
And just look pretty much permanently, sit on the side, and it's if you need to rescue one person right now, that is the best machine I've ever used. I can't rescue 16 people at one time, like I can on a big boat, but if I have one person in the water that needs help right now, that thing is amazing. So I think I did 6 rescues on it last year. Maybe 3 of them were at Union and 3 were at McIntosh, and they were super easy. Couldn't have gone better. Another accomplishment is we added the body-worn cameras that's on my chest right now. Still getting used to it. It's just a new piece of technology I've never used before, so you have to remember to turn it on first. It's a little more data keeping admin work that we have. The camera pointed to them, it might change their behavior because they know that it's being implemented, whether that's code enforcement, medicals, everything's on camera now. So using body cams in the state.
And good during a medical or rescue that we can show to our temporary and seasonal staff too, is that's a big advantage of it as well.
Some more accomplishments. We did a lot of park improvements at Union. One of our rangers who's chainsaw certified, she has her S212 license. The state did a dam inspection and we had a lot of tree work to do. So she put together this big project, knocked down some new growth and limbed up our old cottonwood trees, got us back up to state requirements. We built up a hand launch beach over by the paddleboard shop to give paddleboarders and kayakers another place to launch from, just to kind of spread people out so they're not all stacked up on the same beach. We're still in the process of removing those defunct campground loops. It's basically just ripping out half of that road and then more since it's not a campground. Basically, it was just leaving the people running over our sprinkler heads. There's already programming there, so we'll have talks with the rangers, walk with the ranger, whatever the public is interested in, we'll put together. We really haven't had the ability or time to do before, but now that we're getting more staff, we're able to put together educational programs like that. This is the accomplishments for the Button Rock crew. So they implemented the preserve management plan, which I think this group is well aware of. They fire hardened a lot of their structures up there. So they added metal roofs, fiber cement sidings to prevent loss of facilities in the event of a wildfire. All of those buildings have now been approved by Boulder County Wildfire Partners. They also scaled up their forest stewardship program to reduce wildfire risk. think they're in the process right now of hiring a forestry tech to help take some of that project load off the rangers. Yeah, they do a ton of forestry work up there. They have huge rigs, acres and acres of forestry work done. So I'm really proud of all the work that Price has done up there. It's been really, really impressive.
Specifically, is for the rangers to continue to assist inside of the reservoir, and myself advocating for Union Reservoir park improvements and funding and staffing, and trying to make sure that we are a resource that people want to come to and things for people. Facilitate construction of the new lifeguard shed at Union Reservoir. Going to be demoing it and putting in some new guard shacks and some EMS stations for them in storage. And then we want to continue to increase our trainings, get all of our temporary and new staff the new defensive tactic trainings with our police department, as well as continue people's wildland fire training and chainsaw training. So if there's any other tree removal projects that we need to work on, we've got more than one person that can do that. And
No, that last one.
last one says ice rescue. Okay, there we go. And then recertify with our fire department for our ice
group. We're going to, like I said before, lead some more ranger-led interpretive programming, probably full time in these parks, trails, and greenways due to our increased staffing, and I have less responsibility over unions. I'll be out in the field more. Here that police officers use, and they're able to take lower level calls that are appropriate for us. They're going to pick it up and it's going to get dropped when no one actually does it. But we can take that off of dispatch and sign up for calls that are appropriate for us. So that's one that I'm working with Sarah Arney with OPD. So we're getting that going pretty soon. Looking to start a drone program for our natural resources department. So I'm thinking that'll have multiple uses, whether that's surveying for weed management, if that's surveying hard to reach parks for camps. I think that'll just be a good resource for a lot of people in our department to use. Then as this group knows, I'm in the middle of revising and amending certain sections of Title 13 for Park Street. And for Button Rock, what they're going to do is apply for more grant funding to continue their forestry projects up at Button Rock. Like I said, they're in the middle of hiring their forestry tech position, and then they're going to continue implementation of that Button Rock master plan. And that's it for us. You guys have any questions or things like this, please? Anytime.
The volunteer patrol program for that.
Absolutely. I'm up for that.
They're really fun. They are extremely useful.
Up there, that is getting state, local, national recognition because we're working with the Forest Service, working with Boulder County, and we're doing a cross-boundary project. So it's a great project that people have been pretty amazed in being able to get through the bureaucracy of this project done. And Price has been a great lead in making sure those relationships work because that's what it's really all about.
Thanks for your time.
Any other questions? I might have one or two actually. Can you tell me more about the interpreter program? Is that something that's you said that's new for Longmont, or is it something other?
It's pretty common in other departments. There's certain ranger programs that just have dedicated interpretive rangers who do a little bit of patrol, but most of their focus on youth outreach, building programming. You can get as formal as informal as you want with it. If you want to sketch out a full-blown course, kind of leaving it up to the ranger right now on what they're interested in, what they're educated in, what they're wanting.
Whereas for
Is dancing back then, I'm sure Dan Wilkes now, this ranger group here right now is really interested in making sure that he's really just kind of latched on to that. So this is something we want to do, then really being told that we want you to do this. They've really stepped up and said, this is how we want to engage with the community and give back.
And I can quickly add to that. I have, I think, 2 meetings set up with 2 of your rangers.
They're eager, yeah.
With subject, yeah. So we'll be working with rangers, the volunteer program. We'll be working with rangers to, at least for the more formal educational or interpretive events, we'll be supporting and providing motivation as needed. So.
Great. One more question. So I saw the violations for Button Rock dog and restricted area still pretty high. Is that at least going down, trending down, or is
it
that?
is. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, at first they did a lot of education because you don't want to just put up a sign and start writing people tickets.
Right.
They did months of outreach. You have to pass 4 signs to break this rule. So now you just don't care. Hot damn! If you make it past there, you're probably getting a summons. If they can, has it been going down? Yeah, I'm seeing less spot.
The contacts have been actually pretty good contacts because those people have made that conscious decision. So
Rangers will say, well, this is my $100 entry fee to bring my dog here. I'll pay it, whatever.
Yeah.
They just
We had a ranger on Sunday who was told that, well, we thought that was just for May.
No, it's forever
it's
now.
kind of
Okay, thank you so much. All right, let's keep on moving. Open Space Division.
Okay, that's us back here.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Danielle Cassidy. I'm the open space manager, and we're kind of an old new group, meaning that Dan Wolford's position, the land program administrator, was split into 2. So the work that he oversaw was split into 2 work groups. So the open space work called the open space is the open space manager project 2024. So we have a small but mighty work group. Next slide. So we do a lot of things, similar things to what Stephanie was going over in her work group, but we have a different specialty in that we focus on open spaces and regional trails, management plans, so a lot of the same things, but then we also house the volunteer and environmental education program. So this is a lot of words, so I'll just give you a minute to look at this. Also a little different than the parks and trails, we work on land management from a planning perspective, so some things you may not know, ditch boards and water portfolio management. I bring to you when we're considering buying something, as with Boulder County, that we're starting to have affordable housing. And that's next slide. Some of our 2023 hired our senior project manager, and we hired our temporary volunteer projects coordinator. We worked on some land management items. The biggest and most recent one was purchasing the Olander farm just last month, and completing the Montgomery Farms lease just last month, or December. And then in terms of project management, the Button Rock Management Plan, which was a huge plan that incorporates many more aspects than just dogs. And so, just wanted to point that out and say that we are continuing to implement elements of this plan. We worked on that in 2023. Price did a lot of that work in 2023. And our work, we are almost zero action here in 2024 of that second trail project. An environmental education program. Taylor started the Thorn Partnership, which was a big planning effort, and that'll continue in 2024, really get underway, as well as the Nature Everywhere program. Taylor is going to talk a lot more in depth about both of these items here in a little bit. And in 2023, we had 69 volunteer and educational events, which is amazing considering the weather we had. And that also included family-friendly outreach and education events. Next slide. So just to get a little further into our volunteer data, we like to compare numbers for the last few years to just kind of show what in 2022, 70, and in 2023, a few more volunteer open spaces and parks. And the volunteers put in equate to in 2023. So we have a lot of goals for 2024. We would like to get City Council, CRAB, City Manager's Office, others who are interested, and out from behind computers and out into our open spaces so we can really show you
what the program has accomplished since the early 2000s and what we hope to do as we kind of transition from more of a acquisition focused to stewardship and management focused in the program. And we are interested in taking the idea of, we've had some nice weather here already, so getting that tenant farmer out there is important. We are working on some things in terms of agricultural leases. We have one on 6 that needs to be renewed. We have various grant opportunities that we're looking at. The GOCO Planning and Capacity Grant we talked to you about last year, and we did not manage to apply for it in '23, but we're hoping with our increased capacity that that's something that we can do to help us with our planning. And then there's a public-facing version of that that will also be helpful and go on the website. And the County Road 26 multi-use trail, Sarah, all into Longmont's court after the design is multimodal funding grant. Similar to St. Brain 13. And then in '24, we want to take a look at our open space master plan, which was finished in 2018, and take a look at it. Not dive into updating it, but analyzing it and looking at what we have and haven't accomplished from 2018, and then planning how we want to go over this quickly, because Taylor's going to give a whole presentation, but we want to transition to a new quality. We've got a lot of opportunities for
Any questions or comments from the board? Okay.
Wondering about that, when you guys start digging into the master plan, I think that might be something interesting to have a conversation with Pat.
Updates for sure.
Okay, let's keep moving. The Ecosystem Management Division overview.
Hi, it's me.
Oh, great.
So, hi, I'm Scott Sievers. I'm the Senior Wildlife Technician for the Ecosystem Management Division. And our manager, Jim Crick, is on a well-deserved vacation right now. So I'm stepping in for him tonight. And all of our technicians are here. Think of us as the ecologists, biologists, and technicians that manage open space as a sister of the other half of open space. And so we have Matthias. This is the first time our work group tonight, and he's doing our contract. I kind of went over everybody, including Matthias, and the vegetation technicians, and then Matthew, who oversees our project. And I'll let you sort of read over it, but stewards for open spaces, nature areas, greenways, our wildlife and vegetation management, but we also provide a lot of public outreach. We're working on policies and procedures to make sure that our code within the city is consistent with state and federal law in terms of wildlife and weed management. We want to make sure that the city code accurately reflects what is nationally or state recognized for standards. We also get a call from engineering saying, hey, what about the squirrels in those trees? Be better stewards of our properties. And then we also manage the West Nile virus prevention program. We do things like mining reclamation, and we also work hand in hand with our partners from Boulder County and the state to make sure that we have congruous management projects. Things like that we are working on include like northern leopard frog conservation as well. Next. So here's some of our accomplishments in 2023. So nesting sites throughout town should the nesting colony there. So we've been working on that a whole bunch. And then our vegetation crew has been really busy managing weeds. Mowed 91 acres last year and sprayed 175 acres. We even tested goats, which was a lot of fun for us to see how they worked. A lot of restoration especially at McIntosh and Dickens Farm, with our volunteer channel. And then we worked a lot on with volunteers to manage trees for the protection of beavers. And if you've seen a lot of the trees, and I know you've been out to help us paint, we paint the trees with a mixture of sand for the beavers to knock down, which they do eventually. And some of that, one of the neatest ones is and we just dedicated it to with his family. So we're going to do a lot of growing restoration plants, and that's already not just us, but we'll have partners that can come and grow plants there as well. And forestry is using a lot of prairie dog barriers. That really helps us manage prairie dogs where we want them and where we don't want them. So that's very helpful. We assisted with the reclamation of oil and gas sites that have been plugged and left by the oil and gas companies. They still have to come out and reseed and take care of those places, so we watch and make sure that they're doing it to specs. And then let's talk about public outreach. We provided 6 environmental education programs, and we're going to work with our volunteers just across the street with where over 100 kids attended, and Colorado Parks and Wildlife, which we're really proud of, if they're positive, negative, or neutral. And we also are really interested in looking at native bee habitat as directed by City Council. We are a pollinator for goals. Again, I spoke a little bit about the bank swallow habitat study, and we look to maybe implement portions of that study. And I know that members of the St. Vrain Protection Group really were instrumental in getting that started, and it's been a ton of fun to work on, and we'll have some very interesting results to share with you. We're, of course, working on prairie dog management, very continuous management, so that can free Matthias and myself up. We have a big goal of trying to manage weeds. Our crew was full. Some of that was really hard, and as of all of us are trained besides legally and safely around our customers, our residents. And let's see, we also have a city-wide prescribed fire management plan that is farms. Those need a lot of TLC in their early years to get going. And we're also looking into edit the weed code to emphasize not just weeds and encourage native landscaping as well. And then for project management, we're going to build some additional barriers for prairie dogs. We're going to look at some agricultural stewardship planning, again with our sister half, the open space team. We're going to look at reclamation oversights, again, especially at the Wholesome Mine, also community wildfire protection plan.
How do you edit the weed code, and how are you and what are you editing it for, and how are we determining what's the noxious weed?
That I am aware of is weeds, under some people's definition, that instead of treating them with herbicide, we might weed them because they've been shown to be beneficial for pollinators. That, when we talk about the weed code, that is something that I know that they're working on. So maybe, saving some money and resources in that way and helping pollinators also.
A lot of times, for example, dandelions have been listed in code as something that needed to be treated.
Yes, that's exactly.
So that's one we're trying to. Dandelions really aren't crucial to treat anymore, and we'd like to leave those at least for weeds.
And then things I wanted to know for lots of reasons.
So that one's in conjunction because a lot of that comes under our code. So we work with that group over there, residents, it could be businesses. So we're trying to work with them to make it, we didn't have to treat those. And then also, again, is trying to make sure that we're working to apply it across the board equally. And so for getting rid of some, but we do have some with our.
So that would be like city planning and city code.
Yes.
Okay.
I think code falls under that planning division. So.
Okay. Okay, awesome. Thanks.
Hey, sorry.
This might be a question for you, David, or maybe I'm not sure, but does the city have any particular goals
Actually, we are guided by our city wildlife management plan that was passed in 2019. And it speaks specifically to connectivity, restoration of native habitats, open space, one of our open spaces, and she comes up here a lot. So we want to maintain those core, both in our open space documents and our
what's our goals and what do we need to do. And a lot of that really is, and that's what Danielle talked about, looking at our open space master plan to say, you know, what was in there, what have we achieved, and then what do we still need to get done. So before we go rewriting things, it may be that why don't we get done what I have in there before we start taking on rewriting a plan. So a lot of this is data collection. A lot of these groups, I know they feel it all the time when I'm pushing to, you know, and again, I'm trying to keep this short, but I can't say enough about this group. And, you know, Dan, from what this group started with, it was a lot of the acquisitions, it was a lot of just getting these pieces in place, and now we really have a staff that's diving deeper into how do we answer those questions for the community. You know, we talked about the open forum, people are talking about agriculture and local food health pieces, so I call them in the county. The real estate division is a whole to do, and I think we're making great strides in that. You know, Scott talked about open space being kind of their sister working group, but they are working for PD, they're working for the airport, for those natural resource management pieces across the whole city, not to create habitat here that potentially delist.
Worked with our open space team, Sarah and Danielle, to work to make reach their teen trail extension from Sandstone Ranch to St. Vrain State Park, very ecologically sound, because we have a lot of wildlife resources in that almost very wild section of our open spaces where Boulder Creek and St. Vrain Creek come together. And so we work with them to help put the trail in the most environmentally sound place where
So Paige, yeah, that's a lot of kind of word. If we're asking for positions, it's because we have work to get done. And we'll go.
I'd love to see the wildlife management plan at some point in time at one of our meetings. I think that would be, have it explained.
Website, I am going to work with these now in the implementation.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead.
I have to ask. Goat grazing.
Yes.
Goat grazing. Right?
Right.
Goat grazing.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you said they were testing or experimenting with it last year, and that you plan on staying from 2024.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we were successful in what we were trying to accomplish there? And
Yeah, we did
confident?
see favorable results. We're looking to expand it. The main thing that we want to be as ecologists and biologists and technicians, we want to make sure that we're not putting them in a place and having them actually damage things too, because you can go too far over the threshold and have the goats eat. That would be part and parcel of having
I did not have a stock dog, but who's a goat provider?
Goat Bros.
Yeah.
Goat Bros.
Goat Bros.
Really?
LLC, yes. That's him.
Really?
Yep.
Just, you know what I know.
He's out of Fort Littleton. Just one guy, pretty much. Yeah.
Great.
Grazing. So it's like, you know, you gotta make sure what's in there, what you want, what you want to graze.
That address your question as well.
Goat Bros.
Glad we all have that covered. Any other questions or comments on that piece before we keep moving? All right. Parks and Forestry Operations Division.
All right, good evening. I'm Tim Bertosky. I'm your Parks Superintendent. So we got the Parks and Forestry Operations Leadership Team here to talk about all the great stuff they've done for the year. I'm also going to provide an overview of kind of the next 5 years that we're expecting to go. So here's our mission, to provide safe, clean, well-maintained, and attractive public environments for the use of all visitors of the park system. Our vision is we really want to be a leading example of excellence in parks and forestry management. I don't want people asking what Boulder's doing, and a sustainable environment. Focus on open space, but we do. We've got 4 temps, so we're sitting at about 87%. Who's not here tonight is our GIS technician, and she really does a lot of our mapping and inventory management. Ben Groton oversees our horticulture team, about 7 people up there. Chris Davis oversees our irrigation team, And then new this year, so Chris used to be the parks or facility supervisor. We have a new facility supervisor position that started this year. He just started last week. And he's going to be dedicated to focusing on the facilities. And then Brett is the city forester. Very diverse group of people. There's some of the trainings there that we keep. So irrigation certified design, backflow testing, playground certifications, a lot like open space. Anyone that sprays is a qualified supervisor, plus just electrical trouble. We're going to look at moving graffiti back over to code enforcement and make the program run a little bit better. All right, hopefully let me orient you to this slide real quick. So everything on the left is the business function, and then across the top is the year. All projects we're projecting out for the next projects. If you look at 2023, so we requested a new grounds maintenance tech to help maintain Clover Meadows and Nino Gallo, and then we also requested that additional supervisor for all of the staffing that's coming on over the next 5 years. So we got the grounds maintenance tech 2 position approved, and we got the new supervisor approved. So for this year, with everything coming online, we're going to be looking at asking for 3 new grounds maintenance techs for 2025, plus all the associated equipment. So it's trucks and computers and boots and pants and hats, all that stuff. But we've got this projected out really for the next 4 years. And then we're also keeping an eye on some of we're calling them global initiatives. So this is Smart City Initiative, the EV conversion. So this year we only got 2 of our pool vehicles converted over, but we're getting there. We're also doing a lot of water-wise conversions, and then equity is another big one. So for 2023 on the global initiatives, we did get 36 cameras installed, which was a big win. There's a couple out there in the parks. Those are smart trash cans that allow us to do targeted collections. So we can log into a web-based system now and see exactly which trash cans are full, and then kind of send staff out, and they can log into their phones and see what is full. So pretty cool. We're excited about that one. And then Kensington Garden was done, and then myself and Natalie finished up a 2-year stint on the equity team to help bring that into the park. So the equity team is a citywide program. One of them is your individual component that you're going to be on the equity team. Hey, I'm having this really challenging insight into that.
It's a position that rotates throughout different departments of division. We try to get people to sit on that, just to get that experience. We rotate people through in timber and now. The piece of this, there's a lot of stuff up there. For me, the biggest piece, I'm sorry, is if you want to go back to equity, you can, but for me, the piece on this is what Timber's really done, that house part, you don't really have to read as much, because Stephanie talked about it already. Those projects, for me, what it really does, I want you to be surprised in 3 years when we ask for 2 new positions. They should be surprised in 5 years when we ask for positions, because if we add X number of acres, X number of assets, and X number of trails, we need structure. We have to have the resources to take care of it.
Another question. Basis to assess tree canopy across the city to ensure that it's sort of
spot.
Yeah, that's right. So we're kind of on a holding pattern right now. So we had data from 2020 aerial imagery, and then the goal of getting to 18% citywide. There's no target date for that. We had applied any of that funding, but really there's other mechanisms in play to try to hire this contractor, Planet Geo out of Arvada, that has a really nice system that you can look on an annual basis. If you're having tree canopy changes, you can look at specific ways at targeting where you can plant more trees and what you project to grow as a tree canopy. But I will say, in terms of what the city manages versus what's on private property, we manage a very low percentage of that. So budging that needle really only happens when we have development. And so the city code related to the development code really drives that increase in tree canopy. It's not really our efforts that city really gets those trees into good structure and form and helps keep them healthy. But there's currently not a whole lot of mechanisms that.
But the measurement is both private and public.
Yes, it's citywide.
So
I mentioned this to David, but I know there are, City and County of Denver has been doing some work to invest specifically in sort of community-driven private tree planting initiatives and sort of guides without much canopy, just so it was an equity issue related to sort of urban heat and climate adaptation. So it might be worth looking into that because there is grant funding around and just looking at the model of how they're doing that.
Yeah, and we've been driving for that and haven't received any. We do have 2 programs that do support those types of efforts. One's our wildly popular already tree sale, in which we implemented a lottery program this last year to try to make it more equitable, so that it wasn't just people who were home from this time to this time on this date who could go into rec track and buy a tree. So now the window's open for a week where people can enter the lottery. We'll also recommend $10 in Kensington neighborhood this year. Next year will be the Laney neighborhood, less tree canopy, specifically on private property, since through our.
I'd like to see incentivizing commercial property, and like people that own apartment buildings. The person that owns that is like the apartments on the street behind me, that there's not one tree. And when my ash trees die, the apartments would be completely unlivable. And like things like just incentivizing to, the for-profit landowners.
So our development code does, so if there's an approved site plan for development, they're required to maintain that landscape. So that's something that if we want, so I think this is going to be a challenge, and it's through code enforcement to require them to replace those trees, but the code does support that.
Okay.
There's not really, yes, we can incentivize it through using carrots, but there isn't really a sticks, for code enforcement to force them to plant trees at this point. But nationwide availability of trees, especially with the Inflation Reduction Act, on an annual basis. So I think it's going to be a challenge for like the next 15 or 20 years to have.
Challenging to look at 10-year timeline. We've got the 5-year pretty set. Over the past couple of years, we've really worked on getting our yearly timeline set, and then each of the work function groups have kind of their either quarterly or.
I'm Chris Davis. I'm the irrigation supervisor. Formerly the irrigation and facilities supervisor. Like I said, we just hired Justin as the facility supervisor. It's going to alleviate some of the stress off of my plate, thank goodness. Our yearly timeline, the main thing we do obviously is irrigation startups, irrigation shutdowns. We run the backflow testing for our sites. We have about 230 to get them repaired and certified through the state by the end of May. One of the highlights we have is currently we run a graffiti removal program. It came over here to actually run it, to actually get a program built so that we can start reporting on it and understanding how much funding it takes to provide that service to the community. Gangs are happening, where they're tagging, that gets uploaded in a hot map for our game unit to look at so they can start doing a little bit more surveillance with that. Also ties into the camera projects that we did. The other big thing that we did this year is you got me all lined up, sorry. The big bellies. We installed all the big bellies downtown. The thing for our staff was the removal of trash cans down there. So we removed about 25 trash cans in our downtown. So it looks a lot cleaner. Those big belly trash cans are working tremendous for our staff, decreases staff time to pick up that trash, as well as we can report out how much trash that we're picking up there, and how much time we're actually, again, data driven, how much time our staff is saving running to each trash can. A couple other highlights. One of the big projects that we've been working on started last year is we are replacing all of our air tech, which allows us, at least for my world, we have decreased our potable water usage by 10% in the last 5 years. We can report out on that. That's about a $2 million project, just under. First municipality and have a program in the state of Colorado. So yeah, I got a tattoo on my chest. And then we did a bunch of lighting improvements through the Civic Center. I don't know if you noticed, if you walk Civic Center at night, again, there's Asian infrastructure there, so we improved all the lighting around the Civic Center, the exterior, with the help of the improvements that was going on with facilities, to all upgraded LED lights, LED fixtures. Another big component there is we made it all uniform, so you don't have, you know, a 1975 light with a 1991 light with a baller light that's placed out randomly. We did a photo assessment out there and decided what we need to take away and what we need the LEDA. So, and then we project, but still, if you're around that area, City Forester was down there, so he really drove some of that, but didn't have a good light candle, I guess, or light footing. So it just, again, makes the park a lot safer at night for our citizens. So that's where I just got back from the National SEPTEP conference, but we've got a SEPTEP program going on that's really driven by our police force. And Harold, our city manager, wants representation from all of our departments. Do you guys know what SEPTEP is? Crime prevention through environmental design. So it's how we create spaces in public to be to lower crime. And so this is my second year doing it. Last year we sent 4 people to the conference. This year we sent 8 people to the conference. Last year the conference I think had like 50 people, you know, through the nation. This year it had over 200. So it's growing, and it's something that we really want to do because we want our parks to be safe. You know, we want people to that are there, and so we work with Elisa on the park improvements. So that's some of our achievements for removals this year. That's a pretty big number, so that's over, you know, just about 1 a day, if not more. We pride ourselves in making sure, sorry Tim, I don't talk a lot, but that's what I do. He's trying to sit there and click and get me off of it. But we pride ourselves in the graffiti removal program is, you know, hardest part when Natalie's not here, so I gotta give her kudos, is when it comes to private property, we gotta get approvals. So if we can get it up and down in 2 weeks, that's our goal. So that's the nitty gritty what I do.
Thanks, Chris.
Yeah, I'm done talking, I'll leave.
I'll be exact opposite. I'll keep a sense of support. I run the horticulture side of parks. I joke it's the living and the non-living. That's our joke. Who's who.
Sometimes I take the living to the dead.
So really, for parks wide, it's about 680 acres. Parks management overall, 340 of that is turf that is irrigated. So we're currently trying to system wide. So last year I joined a team really focused on projects to start converting turf areas. And so big one that we had last year was the Kennington and under the water lines, forestry, water, resources, PD, parks, art, places, everybody was on it. Everyone had a piece of friends out there. So it was an amazing project, but kind of we have to do that over and over again, or improve on that, which I don't know how we're going to do that. But we've got a couple more projects here this year lined up to convert, and then working on a project with the national ties them based on use and start gardens, you know. So team is working on just our work projects since we mentioned about with athletics out there. We've been doing organic fertilizing at Garden Acres in Roosevelt Park. We got national recognition, state recognition on that. Other two, the national one is our webinars. So I think that's all we had last year.
We can skip this. Yeah, can't read it anyways. So, yeah, Natalie put together this nice accomplishments, city-owned properties. Planted a bunch of trees last year. Yeah, had our Arbor Day tree sale. If you want to partake in that. And we deliver the trees, which, going back to equity, was a great thing. And we found out trees, put them in the yard where they want them. You know, plants last year, all that rain was really great for trees, but we have a lot of really big trees. So we're responding to a lot of those streets. It was kind of wild. We are one of the oldest tree city USAs in Colorado at 43 years. So what that means is that this city really values trees and puts money towards it in terms of, and then Natalie's halftime with us. So we in-house we perform all types of tree maintenance, planting, pruning, removals. So people call us for special projects, private development, and there are trees of value on that property. We appraise them, try to encourage through the development, collect funding from that, which in turn we use to fund all of our tree planting programs, the Arbor Day tree sale. And then I think, you know, going back to equity, that drives a lot with maintenance areas, and are always looking at ways that we can provide more trees, more canopy, more shade in those places that have less.
So Ben called me up concerned about the time on this. I said, we did a dry run. So there you go, Ben.
I'm going to go very quickly through this for you folks. Here's Sue Ellen put together in aquatics. I'll talk about that. Just updates every month. At the end of the year, $1,000 over the budgeted amount. So getting the pools open was a big deal this year. Having been dry, very difficult to after the last couple of years when you're not creating the we moved Rhythm on the River. We had direction from city management to move Rhythm on the River to something else, and we did Rhythm as well as a one-day event. It was incredibly successful. We had a great attendance, pretty good weather, actually beautiful weather, just got a little bit chilly at the end, so we're making a few adjustments, but the feedback was fabulous from public and the vendors and staff too. It's long overdue for the city. She's really expanding our program. We're seeing this was a need for us, but it's a very exciting area that is a personal passion of mine, especially since I've been over the years from being at the Lake Center for so many years. That we have, and we are going to continue that. Lessons themselves and supports our costs and staffing. And I think we got to 200. It was right about, we had to tweak it and do some changes, learn some things, but we're real confident this year that we'll be able to get that processed really well. Okay, next one. You guys know about the ballot. So it was an accomplishment for us to get things set up, get that all done, get the study done. We were very proud of that, the work we did to get it to the point. And we'll be ready for next time. We did get our scholarship program restarted in 23. About 15K used. Our average pre-COVID was about 60, so we expect that to really jump this year. Usually it's about 2/3 utilization of the money that is allocated. It's not money, that's soft cost that recreation has to absorb. Next one, please. A reorg. So, culture and Jeff changing positions. We did some reorganization internally. Got aquatics a little more aligned and specifically, which allowed our programmers to fulfill and sets us up for success in the future. Vision or business area, service area. Giving it a mild position was modified for into what Sue Ellen Dabney does, which is within the city. So it's been really successful. We're real happy about where we're at right now, and we are. Well, I'm never going to say we're fully staffed because we have nothing happen today, but that's life, and you move on. But we are pretty solidly staffed, and it's very exciting. Next one, please.
And goals. Recreation is mandated to recover 80% revenue. And I could talk a long time on this, I'm not going to. It's going to be the minimum wage. Lowest level, let's call it front desk. The math doesn't really add up. And is what we're going to work on. We got a whole bunch of things we're trying to figure out. We got some cuts going on. We're going to try to get to that 80, do everything we can. We've got some cost increase we're going to go out and talk about here shortly. Master plan, recreation program master plan, we are working on right now. It's an update to our 2015. Expecting some information. We'll bring that to you guys to review, and we can make any adjustments to it. It's good information going forward. It is not a new plan, it's an update. And you guys will see that, so you'll see that. I think it's either next month or the following month. Yeah, we'll probably maybe talk about it next month. Looks like we're doing fireworks. So, council is going to get a proposal to do a fireworks festival. I believe I'm very excited to get going on that. It'll be my first day I've had to work on 4th of July since I've been in this. So, I've been for the last pre-COVID. We had some really good work going on with metrics and having something come out of that. And then, of course, there's no meeting for a couple quarterly, yearly to kind of show our trends. So you guys will see that as we get going here. And then we're going to look to we would love to see our scholarship increase. We haven't, that $100 has been there for, I don't know exactly when. Before I started, I think it was probably around when the rec center opened. $100 in 2003 is a little bit different than $100 now. And so we believe there are some adjustments. We can't just give that money away and then have to produce the revenue that we already can't get to. But to try to address inequality within the city, to try to give as much of our services to as many people as we can, we'd love to see that change. And so we're going to go into budget with this idea of looking to adjust this program to 300 is our target, because it's been so low and no change. So you guys will hear more about that too. And that's it. Are there any questions on that before we move on?
I would love to see the city consider some kind of, that would require an adjustment to the cost recovery expectations, but I think to truly make the recreation facilities more accessible initiative, we shouldn't have that.
You have my support.
Council, I think about when we would need to build that into the budget, but I think if we really want to make those facilities more accessible to all of Longmont, the cost recovery model is not going to fully work.
And 80%, it's folks with our master plan help me with doing that, get some information so that we want to be in the industry standard. We don't want to be. The city has been incredibly successful, and we continue to be. But the reality of it is, we're just paying these folks a lot more than we were even 5 and 6 years ago, which is awesome. I love paying these guys more. It's great, but it affects that bottom line, and that bottom line is tough. And that's the type of thing we want to see.
Well, I would agree with you in regards to the city ever having any sort of expectation of recreation. Like you hear people say, "Oh, it's going to pay its own way," even that sort of thing, because we know that the value is in seeing the services that we provide are 68% or whatever, but we have to figure out what that is. And I'd like to get closer to industry standards in regards to that, because when I hear the word that we might have to let somebody go, that really bristles me in the sense that I know that everybody is pulling their own way. You can let go the ones that weren't doing it in the first place. They've made it clear that they're not the ones that want to be here to move this thing forward.
And we're having to plan on cuts right now. That's just the truth of it, to meet the budget we currently have. And so we want it. We got to work. We're working hard to get to that place, and we'll need cooperation from Brad and then City Council too. And, I'm excited, honestly, about where we're at, because we're doing really well. We just got to get things kind of realigned in the post-COVID
Amazing. Thank you all so much. Look at you on. Yeah. Great. I really appreciate
We have time for Taylor for a quick.
I'm gonna move to Taylor
Sorry,
next.
I need to explain.
No, please.
It's like, tree canopy walls. They get great compliments in our parks, in our open space, in our trails. And I don't do any of that. This is the group that really does all that work out there. I just want to give you guys a chance to really get a chance to see them. And if you have questions for them directly, have that opportunity. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Taylor,
Yeah.
you're up.
Awesome. Alright, cool. I'm going to run through the first handful of slides really quickly, and then the last couple slides are really the update piece. So the first three slides here are sort of a report of, it's called Nature Kids Longmont. So Thorn, if I think most of you are familiar with Thorn, it's come up tonight a little bit. Thorn is based out of Boulder, and they're about to be based out of Lafayette, and then also a smaller version of Boulder, and next up is Longmont, which is great. So this is kind of this shows what they've done in Lafayette. What we'll be doing in Longmont is similar, but it will be different. It'll be a little bit more specific to our city and our needs and addressing the barriers we have. And this is specifically to address, so in Lafayette is 20 plus collaborating organizations, including Thorn and including the city of Lafayette. They include their school district, a whole bunch of nonprofits. They did 1 million plus in programming per year, 1,500 unique participants annually, and 80% of those were low income or students of color. I say 1 million programming per year. You can see below, it's a 5-year program. It'll be the same thing in Lafayette. And they did about 10 million worth of work in Lafayette. We will probably get something similar here in Longmont. But again, it'll be over the course of 5 years. And not all of that 10 million goes right to the city, right? It'll all be used in Longmont. Some of it will be used by the city, and some of it will be used by those other organizations or other agencies that are involved. Explore their backyard and explore being outside. And then by the time stewardship projects, kind of the more hands in the dirt stuff. Integrating family into this programming as well. And once we get into high schoolers, including career training and paid employment opportunities and internships. That here in Longmont, because we just kind of have better infrastructure right now compared to Lafayette for outdoor access. But their goal in Lafayette, next slide. Again, they had 20 plus collaborators. As far as programming, they did camps, family programs, stewardship, so that's volunteerism, outdoor learning, that kind of thing. In-school programs, this is during the year, field trips, in-classroom programs, designing curriculum, that kind of stuff. Career pathways, as I mentioned before. Paid internships. They also did a youth corps and a youth leadership program in Lafayette. So that's something that could be an option here as well. So Promotores Parent Leadership Group, we have a similar group here in Longmont that we'll be working with. That's definitely something we'd start on strokes. But next slide. This is just during the summer, average annual engaging 875-ish kids and 25,000 participant hours. So for a few hours and hang out outside or do something outside, it's useful. But repeated interactions with these kids to really. Next. Bigger numbers during the school year because they did a lot with like after-school programming and that kind of thing. 10,000 kids during the school year, youth and family during the school year, and 72,000-ish participant hours. Capital construction, so this is what they did in Lafayette. Again, they did a really cool nature discovery area. It's on the property of Sanchez Elementary. It's awesome. If you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. They also did an outdoor classroom space. They built a gazebo or shade structure at one of their more popular parks that doesn't operate under the reservation system because they found that the reservation system wasn't accessible to Spanish speakers and also cost money to reserve some of their shade structures. So this is a reservation-free shade structure that's open to everyone, or a safe and accessible a nature area. They did a little bit of trail, street crossing, sidewalk, infrastructure improvements. Okay, GoCo funding for last update when for on 2025 to 2030. That has changed, it's been pushed back a year. However, we now have a 100% guarantee that we will be funded at the amounts we're expecting. So, you know, pros and cons. But the good news is it's definitely happening. It's just happening a little bit later of a timeline than we were anticipating. That said, we've already sort of gotten started prepping for this. So this year, we're doing a whole bunch of public programming and community outreach and community assessment. So what we're trying to do this summer is figure out exactly what does our community need, what does Longmont need specifically, that differs from Lafayette and that differs from Boulder, and what barriers does Longmont have that we need to address. So that's what we're doing. Summer camp stuff. We've got like Cowwood summer camp stuff up in the mountains. We've got a kind of a diverse dividing fund right now without grant money. Feedback sessions. I'll get into it more on the next slide, but we're going to try to what the community wants and what the community needs, but we don't have our big GoCo funding yet. So we now have this, and it will probably be on a smaller scale than it will be once we have full GoCo funding. But we have to figure out how we're going to fund that gap year. We have a meeting tomorrow with a bunch of external organizations, and that should be one of the topics is how are we going to piece this together for 2025. And then again, 2026, we begin the 5-year plan. Nature everywhere. So this is kind of a smaller piece of the puzzle, but this is a separate opportunity. It's a 2-year opportunity or a 2-year commitment that comes with a little bit of money. It's 28 cities throughout the country are awarded this every year, and we are using. So it starts with a 40K TBD, but probably somewhere around the 40K range as well. And we're sort of using this 2-year opportunity and these two different that we're getting this spring. The plan is to use it for that community assessment and community outreach piece. So whether we're a very part-time position for using that 40K for, and again, in our meeting tomorrow, another big piece of that is to figure out exactly what we're using that 40K for this summer. Current collaborators for that are Parks and Natural Resources, Community and Neighborhood Resources, which is under Human Services, Children, Youth, and Families, also under Human Services. And I can come back in the summer if you guys want and give you kind of an update once we have our boots on the ground, and tell you kind of what that's looking like, both from the pilot programming perspective and also community assessment perspective. We're doing, again, community outreach this summer. We're focusing on Spanish-speaking and low-income communities in Longmont. Those are the communities that we haven't been getting feedback from. We have community neighborhood resource. Let's see, current GoCo collaborators. So these are the folks who are meeting now pretty much monthly to kind of get set in there. Cowwood, Wildwood Restoration, more folks into the fold every time we meet. So next slide. Outcomes. We can skip this session, which we're on time. So currently, again, we're joint coordination pilot program in 2024, community assessment and outreach in 2024. We're trying to find a source for funding for the 2025 gap year. One potential option that's been floated but not confirmed by the group is whether we can use that Nature Everywhere Catalyst grant, which should come next spring, to help fund the 2025 gap year, and that's again probably in the range of 40K as well. And then internally, we're trying to budget for 2025. It's a little tricky to answer once we do that community assessment piece and get feedback from folks, but our budget, we're also working really far away, obviously. We're trying to sort of leverage our resources, so we're working really closely now. We're starting to work really closely with education front. We're working really on this big opportunity. Mentioned the collaboration we're starting between recreation and open space, focused specifically on environmental ed, and we're, fingers crossed, switching to a new volunteer management system, hopefully in the next couple of months before the volunteer. I'm optimistic that we'll be able to do it pretty soon. It's going to be a lot cheaper than the one we use currently, and it's a lot more functional, and it's super accessible to a more diverse variety of users. So it has namely the big piece is it's Spanish accessible, and they're adding other languages as well. So that's been a huge barrier for us with all of our programming that we offer. It's if you don't speak English, you can't get online and figure out how to register. So it's really important. This summer, once we have these on the ground and give you an update in summer, I can come back in fall or winter and give you the results of that and update you on kind of what. That's the update.
Great. Okay, all right. So I know we're in business, and that was to discuss the recreation fee increases.
We sent out.
Yep.
These are fee increases that are. We've got to coincide with the brochure comes out. Some of the facilities open. And we have to do to reach budget goals. So, Dave, do you have any questions on that?
I was actually going to ask that I don't know, safety and accessibility and.
I would agree, but I won't be here.
Ben, was there a time frame for this? If you need us to
It's going in the brochure in about a week, but we have a little bit of time to. We're in a position that we have a choice of what we want. I appreciate everybody's input here. Please believe me. It's not something I want.
But I also want to respect that you have to make an action on this.
There's going. That's okay with you guys. We're glad to bring it back.
Okay. I don't know. We probably need to pass a motion for this. But I just want to get a sense from the board. Scott?
Yeah, I think we just tabled it to March. Brought it back up in March.
Okay. Without even a formal motion, but Aaron, you okay with the table? Get that back on the agenda for March. March could be a busy meeting. Okay. We'll keep moving then. What's the motion here? Okay. All right. Items from the board that we have not raised. That we just have to talk about tonight. No. Sure. Okay. All right. Then with that, anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
That we adjourn the meeting.